What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel, a Charlotte Hornets fan channel, and we have a problem on our hands once again. Us Hornets fans are now stuck with another bad season from a bad team. I know we've had a lot of injuries. That is part of the equation, but this team does not try hard. They do not come ready to play. And there's a lot you want to put on the players, you want to put on the coaching staff, all that's fair. But I'm recording this the day after we got blown out by the San Antonio Spurs. This Hornets team has lost to the worst teams in the league. They completed the trifecta, the triple threat, the triple crown. Pistons, Wizards, Spurs, all held dominant victories over this Charlotte Hornets team. Which in my opinion means the Charlotte Hornets are the worst team in the NBA. And with the trade deadline quickly approaching, it's time to hit the reset button. It's a complicated one, though, because we have new owners who will likely want to make changes with the front office and coaching staff, but for some reason haven't done it yet. Now, maybe it's because they bought the team that sale went through right before the draft in the middle of the offseason and they wanted to wait, right? It wasn't enough time for a new group to come in to get after it, right? But now we're almost halfway through the season and still no changes. As an outsider, it seems like this is it for Kupchak and Clifford, but it's just only a matter of time. It's almost as if they're just allowing Kupchak the decency to retire on his own at the end of the season. It just feels like this is a lame duck year for him, and as a result, a lame duck year for Clifford, which means us fans will have to continue wasting our money until they figure this out. So what this video is me going through the roster and assigning trade value, okay, for this roster because the trade deadline is coming. If I had it my way, I would not continue another week with the same group. We've seen it for 4 years. I'm gonna get into this more in a second, but this group has to be broken up. There's no reason to keep this core together. No reason whatsoever. Again, losses to Washington, Detroit, and San Antonio this year. Embarrassing. But because I believe that Kupchak is out at the summer, how active is he gonna be, right? Like if you're leaving, why would you make deals? If when you just leave it for the next one, this is weird, right? It's weird, and I don't like it. So I don't anticipate anything actually happening, which sucks. I really hope to be wrong though. I really want to be wrong. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull up a tier list in a second, and I want to say this now just so you get an idea of where I'm coming from. Trade value for me, we're talking ability, availability, age, and also contract. How much money they're making now and how much money they're owed in the future. Given the criteria I just talked about, age, availability, ability, and contract, how much money they're making now and how much they owed in the future. The perfect example of this is Brandon Miller, okay? If a team calls asking about Brandon Miller, you're hanging up. So age, he's a rookie. All right, he has that on the side. Ability, he's shown real signs of being a very real player, real shooter in the NBA, something that this team desperately needs and every team can use, right? Availability, he has played the most games out of anybody on the roster. The issue is now Keldon Johnson tried to put an end to that. He tried to kill this man last night. So we'll see how long he's out for. But being a rookie on a rookie contract, being under team control for 4 seasons, he's untouchable. Just to give you an idea of where I'm going with this. So let's go to Bryce McGowens next because he has played the second most games for the Hornets this season. Where'd he go? Where is he? Oh, there he is. There he is. I'm putting him here. I don't think anyone really knows what he is yet, which really hurts his trade value, but he is young. He is under contract. What is he, right? He showed flashes. He does play hard. I'll give him that. I can't really say like everyone here, I can't say they play hard every night. That's one of the reasons we're in the state we're in right now. But McGowens is a guy that does play hard every night. He has a lot to learn still, but he's untapped potential. So I don't think no one's gonna be trading for him. If he's in a trade, it's gonna be an add-on, a supplemental piece to a trade, not the core of a trade, right? So that's why I'm putting him here in the yellow row. All right, next up, PJ Washington. Boom. He's available. Not really. He's not allowed to be traded for a few more days. Like if someone calls about PJ, you're not hanging up, right? You're gonna hear him out. You're gonna talk about him. You're gonna negotiate a little bit. PJ signed an extension, which is a beautiful thing because you keep him here, right? Because he's a good player to keep him in Charlotte. But you also allow him to be used in a trade later, right? You're maintaining the asset that is PJ Washington. You take a look at his contract, it's very friendly. It descends, right? He gets cheaper over time. It's a very favorable deal, right? For the Hornets or whomever trade for him. And as you can see here, he can't be traded until like 2 days from now. So I'm just throwing this out there, not particularly advocating for this, but just saw some things about the Cleveland Cavaliers being interested in PJ Washington. So like Okoro and Dean Wade, just to make the money work for PJ would help both teams quite a bit. Okoro brings the defense, PJ adding to the shooting and scoring ability. For Cleveland, could be a bot. PJ should be heavily involved in trade discussions as we get closer to the deadline. Not because he's bad, but because I think other teams could use him, and the Hornets are going nowhere fast with him. Let's go to Nick Richards next. He's played 30 games this season, 4th most on the team. Nick, there you go. Boom, you are available, my guy. Another guy under contract for multiple years, which I think increases his trade value because he's not a rental. But what limits his trade value is his ability. Respectfully, of course. Like, this guy has been starting for us with Mark Williams out. And it's been really hit and miss. And I just think he's as good as he'll ever be right now, right? And so he doesn't fit here. I view him as a guy that should be very much available if a contender, if someone loses a big man like New York, right? Like if they need a big, Nick Richards can fill out a big man rotation in the league. It just doesn't make sense to be here. But here's his contract, right? He's 26 years old. That's what I mean. Like he's about as good as he's ever going to be right now. And he has a favorable deal, $5 million next year, $5 million the year after, which is non-guaranteed. So again, if you're a team that lost a big or needs some depth or emergency backup, Nick Richards should be very much available in those discussions. So up next is a guy who's played in 30 games this season, averaging 16.9 minutes per game. I will give you a second to guess who it is. It's Ish Smith. And then I'm just going to drop him right there, and then you can have him. This man was about to retire. And he's our 6th man. Mitch Kupchak. It's done. It's done. I don't like, what are we doing? What is happening? This man turned the ball over twice trying to force feed Nathan Mensah last night. Like, what is going on? It's done. He should not be the 6th man. Give Nick Smith Jr. the keys, please. And let's build to the future. Because this man's probably going to retire at the summer unless he gets an extension somehow, right? Let's just move on. It's time to move on. You can have him. Let's go to JT Thor next. He's the last guy to have played 30 games this season out of a possible 36. Let's see where he fits into this. You could probably guess. If you thought he was here, you're wrong. He's here, right? JT Thor is still a boy. He's still a child. He's 21 years old. Literally, he's the same age as Brandon Miller and 1 year younger than LaMelo Ball, which is nuts. It's weird. It's actually crazy how young JT Thor is given how long he's been here. So just from respect, the size, he can shoot kinda. He can play defense kinda. He hasn't figured it out yet. That's why he's here. He has youth on his side. He has potential on his side. And plus, he's cheap. There's a team option next year for $1.9 million. I'm not rushing him to the airport. But if someone's like, yo, we want PJ and JT Thor, you do that, right? Just to give you an idea of where I'm going from this. All these guys should be part of the conversation for contracts to work, to make a deal a little bit better, maybe to bump up a 2nd-round pick to a 1st-round pick coming back to Charlotte. You toss in one of these guys. That's where I'm going with this. Next up, 27 days, 27 nights. Boom. He is not under contract next season. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Do you think he's coming back to this? Do you think he comes back next season? I don't. Why would he? Why would anybody? Literally, like, why would anyone with the option as an unrestricted free agent choose to come back to Charlotte? It doesn't make sense given the trajectory of this roster. Why would they do that? You've seen everyone else leave. That's been an unrestricted free agent. Why would he come back? He squashed some of those rumors. There was a report that he was dead set on leaving in the summer, he kind of muted it a little bit. I wouldn't have brought him back in the first place, but that, you know that. If you watch my videos or watch my streams, you know I wouldn't have brought him back in the first place, but he's here. And now I'd be looking to move him because when you talk about age, ability, availability, and contract status, like, he's a very tradable piece. Now he has to okay it with his no trade clause, which is why I think a team like Golden State makes a lot of sense for him. If I'm in the front office, I'm calling him Golden State. I want Jonathan Kuminga coming back. Corey Joseph is just here just to make the contracts work. And I don't know if they would trade him given Chris Paul's injury or whatever. Maybe they put Ish Smith in the deal, whatever. But forget about Corey Joseph. The idea of the trade would be Bridges to Golden State and Kuminga coming back to Charlotte. Kuminga's 21. He offers defense, a lot of potential with him, right? He's under contract next year, again, unlike Miles Bridges. And it just it stretches out the timeline. Plus, Bridges is going to have to be paid. And I haven't talked really about this yet, but the Hornets have no cap space right now. And they have 8 wins. That's insane. That's terrible management. And they got to figure that out, right? So it's not going to be much better next year either because Hayward comes off the books. Melo's extension kicks in, plus Bridges, if whatever he pulls in, 18 million, 20 million, 25 million, whatever the number is, we're going to be right back in the same place we've been and not any better. So why not flip him? You brought him back, send him to Golden State. He can be with his boy Draymond Green, or if they want to, he could be the Draymond Green replacement if they want to send him to the Lakers or something like that. So I think this is a win-win for everybody involved. Plus Kuminga's beefing with Steve Kerr. It feels like it makes sense. It feels like it makes sense. Next up, hard carry, Terry, scary, Rozier. He's played in 25 games out of a possible 36. He's been killing it lately. I mean, last night sucked, but you know what I mean? He's here. He's definitely here. Honestly, he's at the top. Let me reorder this. Terry's at the top end of available. As all the guys that could be traded or should be traded, depending on how you look at it, Rozier should bring the most back. I think he's the only one here that is worth 2 first-round picks. He's in year 2 of a 4-year extension. He's owed 23 this year, 24 next year, and then 26.6 the final year of the deal when he's 31 years old. I'm not sure it's a good idea to pay Terry Rozier $26.6 million when he's 31 years old. For a guy who is at this stage isn't going to become a lockdown defender anytime soon. He's pretty clueless on the defensive end. Very much a one-sided guy, one side of the floor guy. And there are teams that certainly could use his services as a scorer off the bench. He should not be starting. He just shouldn't. He shouldn't be the main guard on a team. But that's the state we're in now with LaMelo's injuries and just how the roster is constructed in general. Terry's an important player. He's a big-time competitor. He's a dog. Like, Rozier is a dog. Let me pull the team up again. There are not a lot of dogs on this team. Terry's definitely one of them. He's probably the alpha if you're going to be real about it. But he's being wasted here. The worst bench in the league is Charlotte's, all right? Definitively. Worst scoring bench in the NBA right now. After them, it's the Bulls, Lakers, Cavs, Grizzlies, Suns, Wolves, Raptors. Some of those teams have playoff aspirations, and a guy like Terry Rozier can certainly help with that. Like if you look at like the Grizzlies, for example, that's what I have here. They don't have Ja Morant. They need scoring. Terry Rozier for Luke Kennard and Santi Aldama. Just for example, maybe a protected pick in there. I don't know. But there are options for Rozier that these teams that are really dry on the bench that have playoff aspirations or major injuries. There's a market for Terry Rozier, and it should be somewhat competitive. He can help. He can walk into all of those rotations. Next up, Gordon Hayward. I'm going to put him between Bridges and PJ just because I don't know what's more valuable, his expiring contract or what he brings to the floor. Hayward has played in 25 games out of a possible 36. He's on par with Bridges, who got suspended, and Rozier, who's been hurt. So just to give you an idea of where Gordon Hayward is at right now. I meant to bring this up early with Rozier and Bridges. The amount of minutes these dudes are playing, it is like they're about to be traded. Like they have to play because of all the injuries we've had, but like these dudes are playing almost 40 minutes a night. It is so not sustainable, right? It's like they're like, yo, let's get the most out of them or keep them on display for a possible trade. That's what it seems like, just me being a conspiracy theorist. But going back to Hayward. Hayward is a good player. He's been weird this year. He's done some weird stuff, and I believe it's because it's a contract year for him. He's doing interviews too. Like, what's going on? Why is he on podcasts? It's weird. It's weird stuff. Weird stuff from Hayward. But $30 million, any team looking to clear cap space, get off commitments. I'm sure the Hornets, if the Hornets want to get really like smart with it, just go OKC with it, right? We'll take on multi-year deals, right? But give us unprotected first round picks for doing it. That's what I want. If they move Hayward, I want a guy who we carry his salary on to next year, the year after, but I want picks back. I want picks. Next is Nick Smith Jr., the other first round pick this season. I'm putting him at the top end of untapped potential. I like Nick Smith Jr. After the disaster that was the 2021 draft, the 2023 draft is a home run. Get him out of town, right? Get rid of Ish. Give Nick Smith those minutes, make him our sixth man while we're going through it, seeing what he's capable of, letting him learn on the job, all that stuff. Like this season, since he's been playing, he's been shooting 42% from three, 43% from the field. Like Nick Smith has something. He has something about him. He has an energy about him that this team lacks at times. So I'm a big fan of Nick Smith Jr. He's not untouchable, right? He's not untouchable, but I would hate to lose him. Up next is Mark Williams, and it's awkward. It's awkward because when the season started, I would want to put him here. Like I thought he was the guy that, all right, you have LaMelo, Miller, and Williams. That's like the three parts of the floor covered, right? You got the guard, the wing, and the big covered for the next like 5 to 15 years or whatever. But watching him get cooked by other bigs is concerning. It's not the end of the world because he'll get better with experience, but rookie year, didn't see much from him because of Plumlee was blocking him, right? And then he spent a lot of time in Greensboro. It took Plumlee to get traded to get this guy in the starting rotation. And then this year, he's been out with a back injury. And when he's been on the floor, he looked outmatched against other teams' bigs. Now, the hope is the more he plays, the more experience he gets and the better he gets about, defending. But at this stage, he's definitely not untouchable. We can have a conversation about Mark Williams for sure. We can have a conversation for it. But I want to need some compensation, right? Some good compensation coming back the other way. Given that we had Dern in our hands and sent his ass out of town in favor of Mark Williams. So we're gonna have to get something back. Yeah, Mark has played in 19 games out of 36. 19 out of 36. Like, to give you perspective, you thought LaMelo missed a lot of time. LaMelo played 16 games. This man, these dudes, 16 games played this season, 19 games played this season. And that's why they're right here. LaMelo Ball is not untouchable when you're talking about trade value because of his big-ass contract and him only playing 16 games now with 4 major ankle injuries. He's not here. He is here. He shot like 10 or 11 free throws last night, and I love the aggression. He came back with some rust, right? Some sloppiness, but he still was aggressive, and I like that he didn't show any like signs of tentativeness from the injury. Like, there's no fear of him getting hurt again, like from a play style point of view. But I really hate that he hit the floor every time he drove the bucket. Like, he has to stop that right now because he's gonna get hurt again. Like, honestly, do you think LaMelo Ball is going to injure his ankle again? And be really honest with yourself. Because the odds are that he's probably going to get hurt again. This is now a thing. And it goes back to the total roster construction. I was okay with him signing the extension. I have no beef with that. You had to do it if you're a serious NBA team. But you have to build the roster with that in mind, right? With the idea that he's only going to play somewhere between 50 and 60 games on the low end, right? You got to plan for that. You have to have proper backup point guards. You have to have proper supplemental pieces to play next to him, right? We're not there yet. We don't have that currently. But I'm putting LaMelo here also because it'd be a really hard guy to trade for just logistically because of the big extension. The extension makes sense for Charlotte because he's Charlotte's player. But next year he's going to be making 35, then 38, 41, 44, and 47. That's a lot for a guy with ankle issues who's not going to play 70-plus games. I hope so. I hope he plays all the games. We need him. He was playing unbelievably well. He was an all-NBA level guy before he got hurt, but then he got hurt. And then we're going to go through the cycle again where he gets hurt, takes a minute to get ready, and then now he's popping off again. And does he get hurt again? We got 4 years of this coming up. 5 years of this coming up. It's going to be a long 5 years unless the roster is built a specific way to account for that. Okay, Nathan Mensah, real quick. Like, I want to root for this guy because, you know, this might be his last chance to make it in the league. Like, he's almost 26. This might be it. This might be it for him. And when he's on the floor, he plays like it might be his last shot to make an NBA roster, right? He's active. He hustles. He competes, but he's not very good, right? And he's a walking foul. He's willing to take a charge. I like that. But nah, you can have him. You can have him. You can have him. He's not one to build around. We do Leaky Black next. I'm gonna put him right here at the bottom end of untapped potential. He's probably like in the middle of this. I don't know who's gonna actually trade for him. Similarly with these guys, but because he's a local guy, I'm gonna give him the respect and put him in untapped potential versus down here. But that's about as good as it gets for him. James Bouknight, boom. Hornets already made the decision on him. He's an unrestricted free agent in the summer for good reason. When he checks into the game, it's pretty bad, right? He's definitely the last man on the totem pole. He's played in 8 games this year, averaging 7 minutes per game. He's a goner. He's a goner. Him and Kai Jones. I had so much hope for those dudes when they drafted them. I was so high on them. I was so wrong, just like Kupchak. But moving on. Cody Martin. I mean, he's available for a deal. He's definitely available for a deal if he can stay healthy. Now he has a groin injury. I don't know who would trade for him, but we know what he is. He's not going to get much better. He's under contract for another 2 years. All right, so he's on 7.5 this year, $8 million next year, and then a non-guaranteed deal in 25-26. So he's an incredible role player, and every rotation could use a guy like Cody Martin. The problem is he's not available often enough, right? He's played 7 games this season out of a possible 36. You know, he was always hurt for 11 months. He's coming off an 11-month injury, and he's already hurt again. It's not a good look. So I think he's more valuable than Nick Richards, though. I'll put it like this. I like this order so far for the available guys. Amari Bailey, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. He's played in 2 games in the NBA. We don't know. He's a second-round pick, a highly touted guy coming out of high school. We don't know. So I'm just going to put him here just because we haven't really seen him yet, right? Maybe he'll turn into something. Maybe the Greensboro experience will do something for him, but I'll put him there for now. And then Frankie Smokes, boom, you can have him. Literally hasn't played. With all the injuries the Hornets have had this season, we're carrying Frankie Smokes, Frank and Ntilikina, for an entire year, for 36 games. Why? Why is he taking up a roster spot with all these injuries? Why can't you just go get like Austin Rivers or someone like that? But no, we got to keep a roster spot for Frank and Ntilikina. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. This is my trade value tier list for the 23-24 NBA season for the Charlotte Hornets. Like, Brandon Miller's the only guy that's like, if you get a call, you're hanging up right away. That's it. He's the only one. LaMelo, Mark Williams, like, we can have a conversation, but it's probably not going to happen. The available guys, Rozier, Bridges, Hayward, Washington, Martin, Richards, they should all be shopped around. See, they should be explored. They should probably all be moved. Untapped potential guys we just haven't seen enough from either first or second or third years in the league, right? We just don't know. And then, you know, you can have them. Speaks for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Just to put a bow on this, I just want to illustrate one last point that has nothing to do with the tier list, right? Ignore the untouchable row. LaMelo, Rozier, Bridges, Hayward, Washington, Martin, and Richards. These guys have been on the roster since 2020. Since then, they've accomplished nothing other than failing to show up for 2 play-in games in back-to-back years. And a terrible season last year and a terrible season right now. There's no reason to keep this core together. No reason whatsoever. You got to break it up. What's the point? What's the point of running it back with these boys? Hayward's a free agent. Bridges may not return. So you want to take them out of the mix, that's fine. But all these guys are under contract next year. Break it up, Mitch, or whoever takes over from Mitch. They need to break this up because it doesn't work. It definitively, objectively doesn't work. This roster is so frustrating to watch every night. And it has to change. It needs to change. Something has to change. Everything needs to change about the Charlotte Hornets. It's great they announced all the changes coming to the Spectrum Center. Got to change up the coaching staff. Got to change up the front office. And got to change up the product on the court because it's gross right now. We just lost. We got blown up by the Spurs, bro. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Sam. You've been great. See you next time. Stay safe. Peace.